Hey everyone, Dylan from the Smart Economy podcast here at day 2 of Permissionless III, and we're joined by Peter Moricz, the partnership lead at dlcBTC.
Proud of it.
How are you doing today, Peter?
Good, man. How are you? How you find the conference?
Yeah, I'm loving the conference, but it's my turn to ask you questions.
Yeah, I know. Go for it.
So, you probably have a really interesting story. What's your genesis into getting into blockchain and crypto?
Good one. So my background, I'm born in Hungary, but I was raised in Chicago. And out of Chicago, I went down, out of university, I went down to the Florida Board of Trade. So I was in the pit for 5 years before I was the first electronic trader in the bond market, in 10-year and 30-year bond market.
Wow.
So one of the very first one able to see the electronic market taking over the bond market. This is when the Russian crisis hit, so I was trading all night. Then I moved to London, I switched over to Eurex. So I did derivative trading till 2014, when I couldn't keep up with high-frequency traders anymore. Switched over to compliance. I got a job at JP Morgan Private Bank in London, which I supervised the traders on there. This is one of the regulations like Basel III and MiFID II was coming out. I did not like working in a bank like that at that time, so I got out, and then crypto was picking up. Actually, I was working at WeWork, and there was 4 Bitcoin companies in there in 2016. I found it very interesting. I read the white paper, and I got in there full time ever since. I did DeFi since 2019, and then last year I joined the dlcBTC company to build out the Bitcoin ecosystem. Because since Taproot came out in 2021, and the Maxi is not pushing back as hard as they used to, they're able to start building something on it. So that's what we've been doing. And what we are trying to do is to able to keep the Bitcoin with yourself. So DLC stands for Discredited Lock Contract. And that's able to, putting code is like smart contract on Bitcoin, right? So it's a multi-sig. You lock your Bitcoin on the Bitcoin chain, which just becomes a proof of reserves itself, that you can able to mint through a merchants and able to get a dlcBTC, which is on the ERC20. Right now we're on base, ARP, ETH, and OP, so we can be very flexible on which chain we're going to be on. So then you get to ERC20, then you can earn yield on it, you can hedge, you can trade. You can, more it opens up, the DeFi it opens up for you.
So before we kind of go into that, there's a lot of conversations I want to have about wrapped Bitcoin standards, your competitors.
Yeah.
I just want to kind of get another little story arc of your time into blockchain and crypto, because you said you read about Bitcoin in 2016, and you were bitten immediately. So did you go working full-time into the blockchain space then?
I did.
Okay.
So the reason it got me is going back to what I did with Project A, or with the electronic, because you saw the opportunity at the level playing fields are the same, right? And when you read about, first you read about decentralization, and everybody has the same thing. I know everybody's like, well, Bitcoin is too slow. Well, yes, it's too slow because you cut out all the middlemen out. You don't have to worry about banks are going there. Nobody takes it from you like what happened with the truck drivers in Canada.
Right.
The coin is always, so for that you do have to do something. You have to give up something. So that's speed, right? So for security and safety, you got that. But then when you read more about Ethereum and you read about the smart contract, and the accountability of how you can able to work together, all the different chains. I mean, that's really blows your mind how it can be done.
So would you say that maybe maximalism deterred you from wanting to be in the Bitcoin ecosystem, and that it was the ability to have smart contracts that opened your mind?
Yeah, I think, because you cannot really do that much at the Bitcoin at that, you just hold on to it. And people still want to hold it, right? It's an asset, but why you became an asset? Because somebody sold a pizza for a Bitcoin to give an asset to it, right? And if you really, it slowly start up, and not until it got up to Cypriot banking crisis when the Bitcoin really took off, right? So, and then when you read about the smart contract, how it can work, I think that's, that's to me is fascinating.
Totally.
I know that the team was bank-to-bank class, and it say DeFi, and it's not really DeFi. Maybe it should be OpenFi. But it's an opportunity for a lot of people who cannot get on there. Like what happened with ICO, a lot of people couldn't get into in the new startups, able to get in there because it was decentralized. So that was something amazing.
So there are a lot of wrapped Bitcoin entities out there. So how do you view the competition? Because and we'll get into BitGo and BitGlobal in a minute. and how this opens up. But how does dlcBTC kind of view itself as another wrapping standard? And what are the sort of things that differentiate your entity from something like a wrapped Bitcoin, WBTC, or maybe even cBTC?
Yeah, especially when you can see it, right? So
yeah.
many letters on there. So our original is, we are the founder of Lightning Network, also find the distributed lock contract.
Okay.
So it's been 6.5 years. We've been working on it for 2.5 years. Right, so it's not the latest Bitcoin layer 2, anything just popped up out of out of nowhere. We've been working on this hard, and we are looking at what was the best way what would be the right fix for it. And I think we're able to lock something that you can lock it and monitor it, and you still own it. Mm-hmm. It came to things right. Listen, I think what BitGo, and we can go into the WBTC did, was great. So we are building on, shoulders of giants, because they created something very unique to able to use Bitcoin to be able to do it. And they're, it was 4 years ago, so they were very early. They got the market share, the name brand recognition. They did a great job. I think there's a quite limitation whether you can able to do WBTC because 80% is on Ethereum. So there's now with Taproot everything opened up, that opened up other things around that. The difference between cdBTC and then you have FBTC, which is coming from the thing, is all still centralized.
Got it.
Right, and what we are not centralized. We can try to be as decentralized as we can, and we are just starting out. So down the line, we can become more decentralized. Mm-hmm. But we want to make sure that we establish our name and our credibility. So that's why we're starting out with a merchant network similar to WBTC, able to dlcBTC, a trusted one that you can use it on any chain, any product, any platform. So that's why we want to do it.
And what keeps you guys decentralized is the fact that you are using a multi-sig. So when I lock up my Bitcoin and I get dlcBTC on Base or some other EVM network, correct, I know that that represented token is locked in a multi-sig.
There. Exactly.
Yeah.
So that it's always there, and you can use the Bitcoin chain as a proof of reserve itself, right? So and this cut down the counterparty risk.
Right.
So if you have something like DLC for what happened in 2008 bank crisis, you always know, because one of the problems that is the confidence in the market, then you don't know who has what. Mm-hmm. Because you always know that your BTC is always there.
So you've been bringing up a lot of crises you've seen during your time in the TradFi markets. So there's a lot of lessons to be learned. I mean, Bitcoin was born out of the financial crisis.
Correct.
Look at the first block of Bitcoin. It's talking about the Bank of England bailing out the banks there, the chancellor on the brink of bailout. And so you have all these experiences learned. How do they kind of apply to what DLC is doing other than multi-sig? How do you help people understand, okay, we have the security here, but we've also got all these other lessons that we've learned. How are you applying them to DLC?
Yeah, so when we have DLC, that's when you lock into the Bitcoin to DLC, that's just one part. Then we have the testers, which are 13 of them.
Okay.
They're monitoring to make sure that multi-sig is pre-funded, that everybody's doing the right thing. So they're running both the Bitcoin node and whatever Ethereum, Barb, so are running the node and same together. They cannot do anything because they're kind of like in read-only mode, but they can see that, make sure everything is running the right time. So we are trying to add as much of layers as possible so people feel secure from the outside as well. And then we also integrated KYT, know your token.
Okay.
When you bring work with chain analysis. So when you bring your dlcBTC token back from the DeFi side, make sure it wasn't not in a mixer, not in an OFAC member or FTFF. So we try to work on the compliance side as well. If you do have a tainted token that interact with them, then you have to make sure you get a normal one before you can bring it back into your wallet. It's more for that works more for the institutional side that are interested in this.
Totally. And so are you having a lot of conversations with institutional partners, enterprise type clients? What's their interest in working with dlcBTC?
Yeah, so the institutional, yes, we are talking to quite a bit of institutions, because what we're able to do that they can keep the Bitcoin from their client on their side, so they can become a merchant. They lock them themselves, and then they can get yield on it and everything, and then can bring it back. And it's a very flexible how they do it. So we don't need to, like a Babylon. They're creating the whole ecosystem around that. We are not like that. We are flexibly going every way, and we can bring it back the same day. So we talked to some of the institutional side too, we like that we can go mint and burn in 1 hour. So for treasury management, every day you have to make sure you have to sign off on it. You have to bring it back. you can do it with you in a secure way. We don't need to worry about that, oh, where is that? Or we have to use a brand new, an ecosystem. How can we get it back? What happens if something goes wrong? That can do it right away. So in that side, because we are, when people talk with the institutional side, they have to also take into consideration the IT, the back office, middle office. Can you integrate it with them? The risk management, the compliance. There's a lot of layers when you get an institution. That's why it takes so long someone to accept it and say, oh, this works and we want to use that, right? Especially as a brand new product. We launched about 4 months ago. So it's it's definitely a lot of talking. We're doing a lot of business development, a lot of education that we have to do, not just in blockchain and DLC, but the whole in place.
Is there like a regional breakdown of institutions you're speaking with? Are you talking to European providers? Are you talking to US, Middle East?
Yeah, so we talking to European ones and we're talking to North American ones.
Okay.
Right, so because they are the most one. Asia, when they're talking about that we are not just institutional, but we are regulated. It's a completely different kind of regulation than the Americans or the Europeans one. They want to make sure it's very locked down. Making sure it's easy. They have to explain it. They have to sell it to the board. If you say this is a SaaS, which we are, it's a much easier sell than it's a crypto thing coming in there and we're going to be making a lot of money, because they don't go for that. They're very safe, very secure. They're very prone onto where they invest their money and how they're working on it.
Was there like a strategic decision between launching 4 months ago as to maybe like a year ago? Were like the leadership at dlcBTC waiting for a Bitcoin ETF for approval in the United States, or was it just kind of like right place, right time?
Yeah, right place, right time. We kind of timed it with the halving that happened in April, so that's that was for more the marketing side. But no, I mean, if you want to do it the right way and want to work out all the different kinks around that, it takes time. You cannot fork a new chain and put something on it and come everybody in the market. We want to make sure that it's secure. I mean, most of the 75% of Bitcoin holders are hodlers, right? They're component. So then you have the hodlers, then you have ETF holders, then you have Michael Saylor who's buying everything up. So you have a very small amount of Bitcoins actually out there floating around that are able to get a hold of them. So everybody rushed into this space because that was a new narrative. We want to be there for a longer time. And I think we will be there for the longer time.
So I mentioned earlier in our conversation that there's a lot of different providers out there.
Correct.
But there was also kind of a golden moment for people to want to migrate their underlying Bitcoin to another wrap standard. We mentioned Justin Sun.
Yeah.
There's a lot of trust issues that might come with BitGlobal becoming the new custodian solution for wrapped Bitcoin. So even though you guys are new and you're just experiencing kind of like your own natural organic growth, did you see a lot of interest that you weren't predicting come into your phone calls, into your voicemails, into your email box because of a result of this?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, when that happened, that the maker, Block and Elica came out with that kind of recommendation. We got inbound from all angles, and we were too early. Like TBTC was perfectly set up for it, because they've been around for 2.5 years. They have a great ecosystem. They're great builders around that. They have a good system. They're similar to us, that they try to decentralize it. But you do have to give up your Bitcoin to somebody else. For us, and it's 3 to 5 hours to mint and burn. So yeah, it was a lot of inbound. So then you're looking around, and everybody wants to do the same thing. All looking for Bitcoin LPs, because you have to have a certain amount of LP liquidity providers to get in there, to able to provide a different chain. So we talk to everyone. I mean, we're talking to 300 different projects, about 20 chains that we want, because we bring in native Bitcoin onto their chain.
And so what are the conversations like with chains that you have discussions with? Do they have to have like a certain type of users? Do they have to have a certain type of DeFi protocol on the platform? What is that?
Yeah, so when we talk, make sure we have good incentivization, because everybody's looking for incentivization. I'm not big on points. Beginning of the year, everybody was showering points on everybody to, hey, just come over here. I didn't want to get into that kind of game, because I think it's a mug game after a while. And I think we learned after Blast and Eigenlayer and everything, it didn't kind of work out. Everybody expected that. So people coming around, I was looking at it. I was looking at the points from the compliance side. It's like you're trying to get around what airdrops, because everybody's getting taxed. Now you go, okay, let's do something off chain on this. Really getting that. So the conversation is, we can bring you native Bitcoin onto your chain and onto your project what can you, how can you incentivize us? You need some incentivization that we can get on there. And